Okay. Go ahead. Good afternoon or morning still, everybody. My name is Maleke, and I am here with Ms. Kimberly High of Jockey Mama's Farm. Today we are going to be talking about bees and a few other insects, pollinators, and some pests. But the focus today is bees. I'm the resident beekeeper over at Jockey Mama's Farm, and I'm delighted to be here and to give you some information about bees and to share a little bit with you about beekeeping and some health benefits of the products that bees create. And Ms. Kim, share yourself.
My name is Kimberly Hyde, and I am the founder and executive director of Jockey Mama's Farm. This is our third Watch and Learn. We're happy to have you. Tell your friends. Every time we're here on the Watch and Learn, we're bringing some very exciting information and good information that you can do in your garden. It's all about growing your own food and the health benefits of it. So, but today we're going to be talking about all about the bees.
What about bees?
Okay. All right.
All right, so I'm going to step aside and run this slide presentation, but I'm going to be speaking to you guys as these slides are filtering through. So just listen up, and if you have any questions, type them in the chat, and then we'll also have some time at the end for questions. And I will be happy to answer any questions you have. If I don't have an answer, I will find it. So let me slide over here and we'll get started. All right, what about the bees? Pollinators versus pests. So a lot of us are kind of hesitant about interacting with bees because of the stigma of the sting. And yes, they do sting. I've been stung a few times myself, but the only reason bees sting is they feel intimidated or they feel like they are in danger, or not just them. For the most part, bees sting because they are protecting the hive, the colony, and most importantly, the queen. So when they feel like there's danger present, they will sting. And what happens to bees after they sting, which is why they prefer not to sting, is that they lose their abdomen. They lose half of their abdomen. So once they sting you, they're gone, they're dead. So most times bees do not want to sting you, but we're going to talk about all the wonderful things about bees. Honeybees have been around for millions of years. There are roughly 20,000 known species of bees. That is something I just recently learned over the last few months. And there are only 8 surviving species of honeybees. So a lot of times you will hear the news that bees are becoming extinct, we're losing bees at a rapid rate. And that's because of all the things that humans have done to create an atmosphere or an environment of discomfort for them. But I truly believe that bees will continue on with or without us. But the main point of it is to undo some of the things that we've done, and to right the wrongs by planting flowers and things that pollinating insects and bees especially can continue to live on. Apis mellifera is the technical term for a honeybee. And again, there are several species of bees, but the Apis mellifera is one of the 8 surviving species of the honeybee. Now it says that there have been prehistoric fossils found that were located in Asia and Europe, but most believe that the honeybee originated in Africa. So there are tombs that are ancient tombs that hold kings and pharaohs, queens, and very important people. And they have found honey and ceramic jars that was still good, still viable thousands of years later. They've also found fruit that was preserved with this same honey, and the fruit was still vibrant and red, juicy, and smelling good. So All these things that honey can do come from bees that we are trying to save, who I believe will be around longer than we will. But I think it's a good idea for us to continue to do our due diligence and undo some of the wrongs that we've done in the past. The ancient Egyptians in 2400 BCE, these are hieroglyphics that you're looking at, and they typically painted or drew pictures of bees and placed them in the sun temple, which signified it was a central part of life back then. So honey and honeybees have always been very, very important in our daily lives, even dating back to prehistoric times. So where do bees live? You see them all over the place and you wonder, where are these bees coming from? Well, hives are what beekeepers keep bees in. Obviously, that is not their natural habitat, but hives are a way of keeping bees in an area where you can monitor their growth, you can monitor where their flight patterns are, you can monitor how many bees are coming into your community, how many bees are just kind of being reproduced based on beekeeping. So when you see these little boxes all around, pretty sure that there's some bees in the area as well. There's another picture of some beehives. So bees are considered social animals. And I know y'all are like, what does social animals mean? Hi, y'all. What does social animals mean? So social animals mean that they communicate information to one another. They share duties, they share responsibilities, they share common goals. They actually have these really cool dances. I wish I'd put a slide on there about that. They have these really cool dances that they do to communicate to one another. So it's almost really super tribal and ancient in a way that they communicate in this manner. They have a waggle dance. Basically these dances communicate where food is, how close it is, how to get to it, where there is shelter, what direction to go in, how far it is away. They communicate danger to one another. They communicate, okay, we're cooling, we're chilling to one another, all through dance and also through their humming. They definitely hum in a different key when they feel threatened. So a happy bee, this is what they say, and I kind of believe it because I've heard it. A happy bee hums in the key of B, pardon me. A happy bee hums in the key of B, and an upset or a frazzled bee hums in the key of C. And I've been in hives before where you can hear, at one point it's like a nice, and then it goes, and you know, like, okay, everybody is ready to attack or be on the defense. So that's something you have to be careful about when you're in hives or around bees. If you hear their pitch change, you know that something is up. Typically in the wild, honeybees are living in trees. They find wall cavities to go into. You might find them hanging on your roof or the back, you know, like your back patio porch or wherever you see like a big old swarm like this one here on the left. That's typically a colony who has left from wherever they were because where they were living at the time was not stable. Bees are very, they're very democratic. So they follow the queen and they all follow each other's lead. So if something's wrong where they're living, they will all leave that place. They'll send a few bees out, and they're called the scout bees. They'll send a few bees out, they'll go find a safer place to live, and they'll make their home wherever they feel it is going to be comfortable and safe for them. The picture on the right shows a more stabilized community of bees. These are bees who intentionally decided that they were going to live in the trees. They're just wild. Whereas the ones on the left are more or less probably from a hive where people have been keeping bees and then they just decided this ain't it. This ain't right for us anymore. But the one on the right is atypical of something you see in the wild. In ancient times and up to the present day, they have people called honey hunters. And basically what they'll do is they'll go foraging for bees that are in trees like this, and then they'll take the honey and keep it moving. But typically that's where you'll see bees. So bees, the hierarchy of bees is a lot like, I wish human beings would be a little bit more like bees. Um, bees kind of bees kind of know their role, they play their role, and they thrive because they all stay in their lane. There are three different types of bees. You've got a worker bee, you've got a queen bee, and a drone bee. Every hive, thousands and thousands upon thousands of workers. The workers are female. Obviously, the queen is female. And then there are hundreds of drones, depending on the season. The drones are the male bees. The queen is the largest of them all, as you see here in this photo. And she's easily and readily identifiable because of her long thorax, which is like that middle part of section of her body, which we would probably consider like a stomach or an abdomen. But she's the only female in the community that has ovaries. So she's the one who lays all the eggs, and she's the one that everybody protects. The only purpose of a queen is to reproduce. And the only purpose of drones and workers who are within this community of bees is to protect her, because bees' MO is to reproduce. That is their MO. That's all they're sent here to do, is reproduce. And you may be like, why is that the only thing that they do? I'll get to that a little later. But bees are, that's just what they do. Some animals are here for whatever. Bees are here to reproduce. So with the queen bee, she is typically in the middle of the hive. Let me go back. If you see the hive boxes on the right, the white ones, the queen is typically on that bottom box. That is where she lives. She may venture up to that second box and lay some eggs, but as a beekeeper, you want to keep her either on the bottom box or that second level box, because the higher up she gets, the more eggs she's gonna lay, and you're not gonna have any honey. You're just gonna have to extract honey, and that's a part of your plan. You wanna make sure you keep her at that first or second level. And a lot of times, a piece of equipment called a queen excluder can make sure that she stays there. But for the most part, she won't venture up as long as she's got her people down there taking care of her. So she'll stay down there. She has a group of attendants, and yes, I said attendants. She has a group of attendants down there that care for her, they clean her, feed her. And then once she lays eggs, there are a group of bees amongst the worker bees. These nurse bees, once it develops to something it can eat, they feed it. They feed it something called royal jelly, which is basically nectar that they've ingested, and it's mixed with the enzymes in their bellies and their abdomens. And then they feed the, it takes about 16 days for a queen to develop, and it takes about 21 days for a worker bee to develop, and about 24 days for a drone to develop. Now the queen decides who's going to be a drone and who's going to be a worker. Drone is a male, workers are females. The queen decides this by determining how many mates or how many male counterparts she thinks she'll need for that year. So she is the one who determines how many drones and how many workers, but most of them will be worker bees. Yes, ma'am. So as many eggs of workers, as many eggs of drones. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So then I was waiting to ask questions too. So then does a queen produce another queen?
Queens can produce another queen, but it won't be a queen when she produces it. So let me explain that.
Okay.
So she will produce a female. If there's something wrong with the queen, like she's old, queens typically live about 2 years. If she's old or she's weak or she's not doing her job, she's not producing, the colony will make a decision and say, she's gotta go. And they will take one of those eggs that she has laid that is a female of, that was, supposed to be a worker. Uh-huh. And then they will groom it to become a queen. So they'll create this cocoon and it's like, they'll build a nest. And it's shaped like a cocoon. They'll build that in the hive and they will raise it to be a queen. And then either she, the new queen, will fight the old queen and it'll be a battle to the death, or the colony will kick the old queen out, they'll kill her or kick her out. It's really cool. It's really cool. But yeah, so she doesn't intentionally lay queen eggs. She will lay, worker female eggs. And if there's something wrong with her, then that's when the community says, she gotta go, let's raise another queen. It's very interesting. Let's see here, what's next? I was talking about the drones. So the drones are the guys, and pretty much, I don't want to say they don't do anything, but they really don't do much of anything. They don't sting. They don't, they just kind of are there for protection. A lot of them go out and forage. Most of the worker bees worker bees can be foragers too, but the drones mostly forage, meaning they go out and collect the nectar and the pollen. So you can have about 500 at most, maybe during, let's say like the spring and summer months. That's about how many drones will be present. But as soon as it starts getting cold, they kick them out. And so if you see bees, kind of big, huge bees, not the bumblebees, but big, fat, big honeybees flying around like in November, December, January, it's because they've been kicked out of the hive because they are no longer needed. They're just wasting space in a bee colony. So yes, ma'am.
So those little baby bees, is that what the first one is?
So the worker bee here on the left, she's not a baby, she's just the smallest. They are probably outside of the queen, who's the one who produces bees, the most important in the community, in the colony. The smaller ones, yes.
A lot of those.
Because they are the ones who, they forage, they take care of the queen, they take care of the brood, which is the larva, the baby, the soon-to-be baby bees. They clean out the hives. They're also like undertakers. They remove the dead from the hive, like for whatever reason, if they die of old age or because it's cold in the winter or whatever, what have you. They all have very specific roles, but that smaller bee, that worker bee, is the one who kind of makes everything work. So in the winter time, like during the spring season, you'll see them all just kind of, everywhere, except for the queen. You'll never see her unless you're a beekeeper. You'll never see the queen. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
No,
Another question. You said that bees do not want to sting you.
they don't.
So why are they acting that they're going to attack you?
Because they're being vigilant about protecting their community, their colony. So let me go back a little bit. A hive is just a box, right? So you stack the hives, and once you get a stack of hives, that's a colony. So look at it like that's an apartment complex of one family. Then you got another apartment complex of another family, and another apartment complex of another family, right? So basically, they're protecting their family. They're protecting their community, their colony. So if they feel like there's danger, if they feel like, something is up, they're going to kind of be, what you doing? What you doing over here? You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to sting you because they do know that if they sting you, they're gone, they're dead. But if they feel threatened, and someone asked me earlier, can they sense fear? Yes, like any other animal, they really run off of pheromones. Like, so as a beekeeper, I can't wear deodorant or perfumes or anything. I usually put honey in my hair, so now I have to stop doing that because it's spring and summer. And if I do that, they're gonna be all over my head. But they are really attracted to scents, and attracted meaning they are sensitive to pheromones. So if you have a pheromone of fear, to them, it doesn't read fear. It reads, you're about to do something to me because you don't seem calm. So if you're calm, they're not going to bother you. They try their best to stay away from you. Because for the simple fact, they know that if they sting you, they're done for. But it's their job to protect. So they will hover around, especially like early in the season when they're trying to, when they're trying to re-up on their stock for honey and pollen. They're like, we got to get out there and we got to do this. But we don't want no trouble. So if you're hanging around while they're at the peak of their, trying to gather what they need to gather, they're going to be very protective, especially coming out of the cold into the, into the warmer seasons. It's just, I guess it's just nature. It's just nature's way of protecting. And winter months. I will speak a little bit about winter months, and then I'll talk about what bees eat. But first I'll show you this. I almost forgot. These are the different stages of bees. So the queen will lay in the comb, which of course the bees build the comb, the wax. And it looks like a little piece of rice at first. It's very hard to see. I've only seen 2 since I've been beekeeping, but I know that the queen is laying eggs because I usually see them in stage 2. So stage 1 is the egg. It looks like a little piece of rice. Stage 2 is the little larva there, and it just looks like a little maggot or something, right? And then stage 3 is when they begin to build their cocoon and their body starts to fill out. And then stage 4, they emerge, and they get to work. They start chewing away at because what happens is that once they build the cocoon, the other nurse bees will come in and cover up the comb, and then with pollen, and they'll have to eat their way out. So they eat their way out. That's their protein. They get on the go and they get their assignment, and that's what they do for life.
So, question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do, I guess it would be more the people that started, or in general, how do you differentiate the honey between where the bees are being laid?
So the honey is capped with it's capped differently. So we call it capped. When they cover the comb, it's capped differently, and you can see it. It's gold. It looks like liquid gold. It's beautiful. But you can see when it's capped brood, it's a darker and thicker material that they use to cap the wax with, the comb with. So you can tell. And for the most part, most of the brood, which are the baby, I'm just calling babies, most of the brood is on the 1st and 2nd level. And then above that is more than likely just going to be your honey and your pollen. So if you have any brood above that 2nd level in those hives, then you might want to consider, splitting your hives, which means breaking some of those family members apart and putting them in another family. Or you're just going to keep building on, adding on and put a queen excluder in there so she doesn't keep going up and up and up to lay. But you can tell the difference. The capped brood has a darker, thicker covering.
So you say breaking up a family. So does that affect the hive when you break up a family?
It can. Some of the bees won't take to the new queen because they have to get acquainted with a new queen. Some of them won't take to her and they will abscond, meaning they will leave. Some of them will try to go back home. And if they go back home after they've been somewhere else, they might not be accepted and there may be a war. So it just depends. But for the most part, if you take a colony that's kind of new, like if you take say you've got a colony with 4 hives, and then the ones on the bottom, that the queen just laid them because you see that they're larvae. Okay, in about 10 days, you're gonna have some baby bees. Take them immediately, and then put them with another family. And basically, it'll be their own people that they're going with, and as opposed to them having to be in a colony for their lifespan, which isn't very long at all. their lifespan and then go to another colony. I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but there is a possibility that they will either abscond or end up just being just out there on their own if they don't take to the new home. So when it comes to bees and what they eat pollen, nectar, and honey, the honey that they produce. So what we get from them is what they produce for themselves to live. That's the only reason they produce honey. They're not doing it for you, me, or nobody else. They're doing it because that's what they eat. The pollen provides them with protein, and the nectar provides them with lots of minerals and energy. So when you see a bee with the pollen on his legs, their legs are kind of, it's almost like if you have double-sided tape and you pick up feathers or something. That's how pollen sticks to them. It's not like they intentionally go up there and be like, oh, I'm just gonna grab all this pollen. They have been created and designed to just be able to collect pollen as they go. And the pollen, they use it to feed their young, they use it to feed themselves, but they use it to feed their young, and they also use it to create the royal jelly. And the nectar is used to make honey. So the pollen doesn't turn to honey, the nectar turns to honey. Nectar is more or less water, but once the bee ingests it through its proboscis, which is not on here, but once it injects it through its proboscis, which is like this, it's like a long skinny straw. It goes into their abdomen and it kind of sits and mixes with enzymes and proteins and minerals on their, oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks. So right in here, this is proboscis. It's literally like a little straw. It mixes with enzymes in its abdomen, and once it gets back to the hive, it deposits it into the honeycomb, and it's a little watery, but then it evaporates after time and there's no water left, which is why honey can last forever. Like I said at the beginning, they recently found in a tomb 8,000-year-old jar of honey that was still viable. So honey is one of those things that not only will it last forever, but it will preserve anything. So basically we're eating their food, but that is how they take care of themselves and they take care of their young. And it actually is better for you than sugar honey, although it is advised that if you're diabetic to check with your doctor first because it is still sugar, but it's just pure sugar. It's not adulterated with any other chemicals or anything. So the lifespan, like I said, of a queen bee is about 1 to 2 years. The lifespan of a worker bee can be between 15 and 38 days. It depends on if she's out foraging or if she's inside. If she's inside, she'll live a little longer. If she's out foraging, it's wear and tear on her body, so she will probably die a lot sooner. But they all have at different stages in their life, they go from one job to the next. So it just depends. And then the lifespan of a drone is 24 days. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention real quick. Winter time. I didn't talk about winter too much, but winter time. During the winter time, bees are completely inactive. They don't like the cold. They don't like the rain. They don't like cloudy days. They don't like windy days. They just want sunshine. And I think I must have been a bee in my prior life because I feel like I can relate. They don't wake up till 10 o'clock and they stay out until about 5 foraging. So from about 10 o'clock, you'll see them coming out, and going out and checking out the weather or whatever. And then they'll go forage. And then about 4:30, 5 o'clock, like clockwork. I've seen it. Like clockwork, they come home. And then everybody does whatever they do in the hive from 5:30 to the next day at 10 o'clock. So yeah, they got it all figured out.
So if you see, every now and then,
Mhm.
early in the morning, you see a few hours. Yeah, is there a reason for that?
So if you have a bee hive or a colony of bees around you, I mean, on your property, most likely they're not out. But if you do happen to see bees out early in the morning, they're probably just wanderers, or they might be drones who got kicked out, or they may be from a place that was, that they have absconded and they're wild. So like wild bees typically have a little bit different, uh, they move a little different. Like they still kind of hang out until later in the morning, but for the most part, if they're just out flying and you just see a solo bee or a couple of bees, they probably just don't have a home. So that's mostly what those bees are doing.
Are wild bees the ones that are most likely to sting you?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. But it probably would be more likely for you to be stung by a wild bee, only because they're just out in the open. And if you happen to see them, like, I don't know if you caught the earlier slide where typically wild bees, they are in trees, or they're like in wall crevices, caves, crevices of walls and things like that. They might feel a little bit more unsafe and unprotected. So it's not that they will more likely sting you. It's just that because of where they are, it could happen a little quicker or easier than a hive. But for the most part, wintertime comes around, they do nothing. They're in there. So all summer, all spring and all summer, they're collecting to make sure they have enough to sustain themselves over the winter, to eat. So all you see them doing over the spring and winter is so that they can survive the summer and spring, pardon me, is for them to survive the winter. And once winter arrives, they make sure that they close up any gaps in the hive by using what's called propolis, and it is sticky and very, very, it's like a glue. It's like what's that? Gorilla glue. It's really, 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 I mean, like if they could find a way to market that, I'm sure they could, but whatever. So bees will find like in crevices, close them up, make sure no air gets into the hives, make sure it stays warm in there. And like I was saying before, how they communicate with dances, they'll do this dance, and everybody gathers at the bottom of the hive surrounding the queen to make sure that she stays warm, to make sure that everybody stays warm. And they're so democratic that the bees on the outside get a chance to go to the inside. So they rotate. They know how to freaking say, okay, y'all been out here long enough. Y'all moved into the center so y'all don't freeze to death. It's our turn to go to the outside. So bees will do that little waggle dance and make sure they keep each other warm. The hive stays between 83 and 91 degrees Fahrenheit all winter long if you got a new colony. Sometimes you may have a weak queen, which causes a weak colony, which causes a colony that either abscond or they just don't survive through the winter because they got too cold, they couldn't take it. But if you have a good, strong colony, they will last you through the winter because they know how to take care of themselves and each other. And then what happens to the drones, like I said, is they start kicking them out because they don't have much of a use for them during the winter. No one's foraging them in the winter. They're taking up space. They're going to die anyway. So they kick them out and they just, they roam. But wintertime is a time when you will, if you see bees, they're probably just without a home. All right, these are popular pollinators. Butterflies, we all know butterflies are pollinators. Bats are pollinators as well. Orioles, hummingbirds, those are all pollinators. We want to make sure, if you don't want to beekeep, that you are at least, if you're gardening or planting anything, plant some things for the pollinators. Pollinators are extremely important, not just for farmers and gardeners, but for everybody in general. About 90% of, let's say, apples, blueberries, cherry trees, there's a few others. They wouldn't exist if there were no bees, if there were no pollinators. But bees specifically are the ones who help those fruit trees to pollinate. A third of our food is only possible through pollinators. And we all know what pollination is, right? You get the bee or the bird or the bat grabs the pollen, or it latches onto whatever parts of their body holds the pollen, and they take it to another plant, another flower rather, and then it just kind of creates this thing where there's fertilization, right? So without pollinators, most of our food sources would be non-existent. So if you don't want to keep bees, if you don't like bees, it's okay. Just, be mindful of when you're in your yard and you cut down those wildflowers, let them grow, let them grow. A lot of times I will be, riding down the road, and you know how you see all the wildflowers in the big patches? I love it. But in some of the city, like parts of the city, they go and they mow it down. And it's just like, you're destroying what God already put in, cycle to keep everything moving. We all are interdependent on one another. If we were to just allow nature to take its course, nature will take care of us. But a lot of times as human beings, we don't see the small things. We don't acknowledge or respect the little creature like the bee. But if it wasn't for the bee, there'd be a lot of food that we would have to eat. So let's see here. I think the next thing I'm going to do is let Miss Kim talk about some insects, some beneficial insects, and some pests that you want to kind of stay away from, because bees are definitely beneficial, but there are other beneficial insects that you can have in your garden, in your yard, that are around that you may not know about. So I'll let
I
Ms.
have
Kim take it.
a question before she takes over. What exactly does the drone do if the worker bee is doing everything?
That's a very good question. The drone typically goes out to forage, and then drones also, if they're strong enough, survival of the fittest, if they're strong enough, they may have the potential to mate with another queen. She never mates with the males in her family, in her colony. She mates with males outside. So she's producing drones that will potentially be able to mate with another queen and carry her DNA on. It's basically a big DNA game. They just want to keep their.
Okay, so if she doesn't mate with the males in her colony, how is she constantly reproducing?
Because she has enough ovaries. So once she goes out and mates, so they'll do this mating dance like once a year, right? She goes out and she'll go out, she'll fly up really high. And then the drones who are capable will come and meet her. And the ones who do meet her, she chooses, and then they store enough of whatever his fertilization capacity is, and she has enough ovaries to store. She stores all those eggs, fertilized eggs, and she just lays. But 2 years is her lifespan. So she goes out once a
So
year.
she has enough ovaries to lay for 2 years?
For 2 years. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we can switch being born to be a bee.
Does anybody have any more questions about bees before we move on to the other insects? Yes, ma'am.
Is there a possibility that they lay on you, but they don't necessarily sting you? Like the other day, I was out at the park and I was doing my class. This one happened to be in the cage. And so they came because
They're attracted to music and sound.
Oh,
Yes, so they like the key of B, they like the key of G because it's a soothing, more high vibrational sound.
Yeah.
They're attracted to that kind of thing. It's calming for them. So a bee bees fly on me all the time. The only time I've gotten stung is when I've been in a hive trying to find a queen. Okay. I've never been stung just like out and about in the world, but they're always following. So as long, they don't want to see.
I just wanted to know the vibrational sound.
Yeah,
I'm out there, like, don't do this.
You know, don't do C, because C means in danger. Yeah, they will change their pitch based on, like, if they feel threatened or not, and C is what they go to. Yeah.
Okay, so then, I want to ask a question about swarming.
Mhm.
Okay, so why does a hive swarm? Is it because they're upset that somebody?
Typically, a hive swarms because they don't feel safe. They either swarm because they don't feel safe or their queen is gone. So a lot of times, if the queen is gone, if the queen is gone, the hive goes crazy. They don't know what to do because their whole life is hurt.
But what's your destination? If they
They
trying to
leave
find
the
safety,
hive.
I just see them swarming before I've been.
Yeah, they're just trying to find a safe place. So what happens is some of these worker bees are scouts, and they go out and they scout to, like, long before they swarm. They've already decided you're going to go out and you're going to go find us a new place to go. So the scouts will go out and find a new place, and then the scout will come back and say, this is where it is. They'll do their little dance and they'll all join together, and it may take a moment for them all to collect, because whether you know it or not, in those hives, there's over 2,000 bees. So it's like, if you just see like a big swarm, trust me, there's more coming. So they're waiting to gather all their family members, and then they're gonna go to wherever these scouts have decided that they're gonna go. And again, typically the reasons why they do swarm is because they lost their queen or they don't feel safe. There's something about the hive or the location that they're in, they just don't feel safe. So they're going to say. Any more questions about these? Does anyone online have a question?
Let me see if there's any questions online. Nope, no questions online. Full beans.
All right, you're up.
I'm just gonna,
I guess maybe we asked all of the questions.
I'm just gonna briefly talk about beneficial bugs, because everybody thinks that our bugs in the garden is not beneficial. They think that everything that's a bug that is bad. But like Maleke said, like everybody don't like bees either, but bees is a necessity. That have been, so the couple of bugs I'm gonna talk about that's beneficial is a ground beetle. And I'm just doing some of the common ones that we know that we see often. And there's also this is the ground beetle. It's a little black beetle. It's kind of fuzzy in there. This is the most common ones that we see in the garden. So it's a necessity to have ground beetles in the garden. You know, some of these bugs is just a beneficial bug. Eat the bugs that are not beneficial. So we'll talk about these three. I'm just gonna go over how they look, and so you know that it's a beneficial bug. There's a whole list of them, but I just showed a couple. So we just go with those. And then there's also a lacewing. The lacewing look like the wings of the lacewing is a long, skinny, green, like a worm in the middle, but the wings are really lacy. You can really kind of see through them. They're very common in the garden. Anybody seen a lacewing before the garden? Yeah. Okay. Did that make a difference? Try it again. Okay. And then the famous ladybug. Everybody's seen the ladybugs, right? There's different kind of ladybugs too. There's ladybugs that are beneficial, but there's some bugs that look like ladybugs that are not beneficial. So you got to be aware of those too. So these are some of the beneficial bugs that you commonly see in a garden. Okay. Anybody have any questions about those three bugs that you commonly see in the garden? You know, sometimes when ladybugs spy on people, they be saying how lucky you are, you have a good thing. So, but they're a beneficial bug for the garden. Okay. Okay, so the next one is some bugs, some insects that are not beneficial. Some of the ones that I just really can't stand that you see often in the garden as well. And they just some few bugs that just come over and attack and take over. So very commonly in the garden, it's an apius. That's this bug right here. It's a little orange looking bug. It just it'll get on everything, eat holes and everything. You know about the apius? Okay, yes. Okay. Anybody else have know about the aphids and never seen them before? So they're very common, very common in the garden. And the cucumber beetle is the one it's yellow with the black spots on them. I just recently, about a couple of years ago, seen this beetle. Never seen it before, but it will take over the whole garden with it's this spotted yellow beetle. And then for the third one is the book that's not really good. It's the squash bugs. Oh, get one squash bug, you'll eat all your squash. And so this is a squash bug. It looks like a regular bug, and it's a regular bug because it'll take over. So I want to talk about some things that I use to prevent these type of bugs, since I'm here talking about the bugs that are not beneficial to the garden. I use Dove's dishwashing liquid, like a tablespoon of Dove's dishwashing liquid in a bottle of water, and I kind of shake it up and I spray my vegetables with it. That'll run them off. I don't know what it is about the Dove. I've tried other dishwashing liquid, it don't work as well as the Dove. I mean, this is just something I do. I mean, it's not saying that it works for everybody, but I spray it on the collard greens. When I see them eating collard greens with the holes and the caterpillars on the collard greens, I used to just smash them all the time, but I started trying to get some ways to prevent them, because you want to be organic. And most of the time, these stores who have this beautiful produce, they're using pesticides. So I'm trying to find a way to not use pesticides. So I do things like that.
It's still like certain like plants you can put to eat the pests, like what's it called? Okay, I was just thinking, this one term.
Oh, yeah. Somebody, a lady gave me that, and what happens in it, yeah, she gave me one of this. I didn't know what to do with it, but she told me how to do it. But I just get some good common facts that I don't know. So thank you for that information, because I just, like, we're out in Joplin, right over by the railroad track, and I was out there taking care of my squash one day, and I was just, the man could see me on the railroad track, I was just punching killing these bugs. So he came over, he said, are you killing squash bugs? I said, yeah. He said, they just take it on. He said, get you some ammonia and put it in a cap or something and sit it in your box. And so I got me a cap of ammonia and I sit it in all my boxes. All my boxes had squash in it. A few days later, I came back, no squash bugs. Never ever heard of that.
Does it?
Like if you take the water, just cut this out and put some ammonia in it and sit in it. I have raised beds in the boxes. I sit that ammonia in those boxes, and in 2 days, those squash bugs gone.
So does it help? I'm sorry. Does it help with anything else?
I don't know. You just see me messing with the squash. You came over and gave me that tip. So I used it and it worked. Because they just tell you get one squash bug, you can rest assured something's coming. So I use that as well. And then this thing's like in the store that you use, they like Nemo or BT, whatever. But I try to do as much as I can naturally to get rid of them, because in the store people were thinking, oh, their produce is so pretty. It's just it's pesticides. It's got stuff sprayed all over it, because regular produce that's organic does not last that long if they keep it on the shelf. So you can rest assured there's some pesticides that sprayed on the shelf. And then another thing, when you buy your produce from the store, or wherever you get it from, take it and put it in a sink of water, whatever it is, an apple or whatever it is you're gonna eat, peaches, plum, put it in a sink of water and put your little cap of vinegar in it and let it sit for a few minutes and watch out there. It's filthy with dirt. If you just put it up under water, that ain't working. You gotta watch that, because it's pesticides on there. I can believe that.
So where's the best place if we don't have access to a farm? Where's the best place to buy organic food? Like that you guys would suggest, organic fruit and vegetables. If we want to.
I got my farm.
That was what I'm saying.
Okay, well, that's one of the best places to buy. But I don't know, because before farming myself, I was a corner market but it's expensive, So I started growing. I eat what I grow. So I suggest that you try but I talk to, I always say this: plant you something and eat what you dry greens every day almost. I got a lot of greens. I eat greens. I eat spinach and kale just because I prefer it. And I know when I spray on it, I ain't spraying anything on it. I make something out of it. So I would say, I guess Whole Foods is just too expensive. But so I suggest that you grow your own food. Well, HEBs and stuff like that, they advertise in organic, but. So that's my spiel. So Malika's gonna come back and talk something, some more thing about bees and maybe talk about her items. And then after that, at the end of this session, we usually, at the end of our lunch hour, we usually cook something or make
Yes, I
something.
can't wait.
Make something to eat from the produce that we get from Dr. Mama's farm. So today, we're gonna actually make a kale spinach smoothie with honey. But anybody have any questions for me?
And then you, was that the grub you was talking about? Is it
The
called?
squash bug. Glass squash bug. I just did.
Is it a worm with on it?
No, it looks just a little crawling bug with some real.
Kind of like, shape like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but have y'all seen the ones that look like worms?
Oh, those are different kind of things. Yeah, I just only showed there's a whole list of bad bugs. I just did the 3 common ones that I said. But yeah, you talking about the fat bug that love tomatoes? What's the
No.
grub brand worm?
So I think that might be, somebody called it a grub. That's what somebody told me that it was called, but it's like a worm.
Yes, it's so fat and pretty, huh?
It's a small one. It's small, skinny, it's small, skinny and gray. I thought it was like, oh, worm is good, but somebody told me it's not good.
Yeah.
So how do you get rid of it?
They are good, very so.
Yeah. Yes,
Ah.
some of the bad bugs are good for the good. Yeah, they just kind of work hand in hand, just like.
They all
the
work
bee.
together.
Yeah.
Depends.
I'm like, I can get rid of it.
You know, that's people don't read on this neat all thing, but I try to do as much as I can now.
Okay.
So I just started trying stuff, and somebody told me, baking soda was something for something. He's about to say that.
No, I've used baking soda.
Yeah, so
So
I.
when you wash them fruit.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah. So I tried many things that I can to see if I can get rid of something before I look to this chemical stuff. I tried my best not to use anything. It's really not good for you and everything.
What, do you know what the results of using neem oil will do to the plants?
I don't, because I really haven't. Have you ever used neem oil?
I've heard it before, but I've never.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people tell you if you want to kind of stay organic, use some neem oil, but I've never really used it. I just know it's something that they tell you to use. And then if you use neem oil, I do know that you can't use it during the fact when the sun is out. You got to do it early in the morning or late in the evening when the sun is going down because it burns the plant.
So what's gonna keep it from burning the plant while the sun comes?
Well, overnight it does something, or early in the morning it does something. But I don't know because I've never used it. But let me just tell you this: whatever you use is gonna, if it rains, it's gonna wash out that day. You just have to repeat that process. But then I rather not. I rather repeat it naturally. So I mash with a whole lot. I do it all the time. You know, when you get volunteer kids come out, yeah, we're gonna mash some bugs. They be happy. And so those worms that you're talking about, Chris, or something, those grub worms, if you would collect those instead of mashing them and put them in a jar, and then get you something to smash them and put them around your plants, they can't stand the smell itself. They won't come back either.
Really?
They can't
So
stand.
smash them.
Well, put them in as say you're gonna be harvesting and you run across those worms. So just start saving them in a jar. Then when you're ready to use some pesticides, smash them up and put them around they can't stand the smell themselves, so they won't come back. I did that before. Okay.
But I was thinking that why don't you put it back on if you think it's decompose anyway?
Why don't you put it back on there?
Like I'm saying did, but I'm saying no, I was thinking, I'm agreeing with you. When they get decomposed,
Yeah.
right back to
I was told that by a big farmer, that they just can't stand the smell and stuff, so they'll leave. But they don't mean they're gonna come back. They'll leave. And then when that, all the smell, all that's gonna never come back. You know, it's just
So you take care of
it's just something you can do organically to stay organic. And I think it's hard to be clarified, organic. It's a whole lot of paperwork. I think that's why a lot of farmers don't try to do the clarified organic. They just spray. It's just a big process.
Right. But isn't it more expensive to use the pesticide?
Well, it's more expensive, but it's easier.
Your yields go
Huh?
up, yields go up.
Yeah, you have more produce, produce more, yeah. It's just easy to spread and
It's more input, but your yield also.
so that's why all that beautiful produce is so, oh my God, that is so pretty, something I'm going there thinking, oh my God, look at that.
What's the market?
I made first grade, so
Yeah.
I can't say nothing.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Anybody got any more questions for Ms. Kim?
Well, no, it was a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Will this video recording, will this be anywhere that I can be able to stream it?
Yes.
Okay.
It, after the recording, we will post it to our YouTube.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Awesome.
So it may be today, if it's not today, it'll be the first next week, because I'm off tomorrow.
Okay, do you mind, do you mind giving me, is it Jack, are you with Jack?
Then home.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, she was at the mama too.
Yeah,
So are you Eric?
yes, I am.
Oh, okay, okay. Nice to meet you, Eric.
Meet you all, and thank you for coming.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm just gonna tell you guys a little bit about the benefits of honey and beeswax. And I'm gonna show y'all some of my tools, and then Ms. Kim and I will get to making a smoothie for y'all. If y'all have any more questions, please feel free. Just showing you a couple of pictures of the process of honey extraction. The picture on the left is of a hive, and these are the frames here. And then those are bees. Yep, that's what a frame looks like. And bees will build their, I don't know why I just did that, but bees will build their honeycomb on those frames. And you can take it past that if you guys want to kind of check it out. These are just kind of pre-made hexagon shaped frames with hexagon shapes in them, but trust me, if they were not there, the bee would create a hexagon shape on its own anyways. As you see on the top of these frames here in this picture on the left, they've kind of come outside of the hive. They're losing space. And so they started to build comb on the tops of the frame. So they don't need the frame to build the comb, but this is just a way that we use to.
So the yellow, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The yellow on top is the comb?
Yes, ma'am. So basically they build it inside of these, but because these bees seem to be losing space, they need more space. They've started to build comb on the tops. So they will keep building and building and building and building and building. So as a beekeeper, that's something you don't want to see, because you want to make sure they have enough space to do what they got to do without it overcrowding, because that's another reason bees will abscond or swarm. They don't have enough space. Which basically means that they're not feeling safe because they can't all, function in the same space. This here is typically, yep, you'll use a tool like this, and pretty much there's a warmer that goes with this. This is the archaic way of doing it. I'll stand in front of the camera so that you guys too can see. This is the archaic way of doing it. This would be warmed up, and typically what it is you'll take the frame out of here, and then you'll just scrape up or down, whatever your preference is. And basically you're uncapping the honey so that the honey can drain. So once the honey is there, the bees cap it, and you see like that's a lighter color than what it would be if there were babies in there. But you're just scraping off the top of that coating that they put there, and then it drains. That is a very archaic way of doing it, but it works. And the next picture, the third picture, is they have these huge extraction tubs where you can just stick stick the frames in all the way around, all the way around. It spins really fast and it just, yeah, it extracts it that way. And then it comes through this little tube here, this little opening here, and then you got some raw, unfiltered honey. Unfiltered honey is the best because it has not been heated up. Once you heat honey up, it loses some of its minerals and all the protective qualities that exist. It doesn't completely go away, but it significantly declines. So raw, unfiltered honey is always best.
So another question about honey.
Mm-hmm.
If this is something that's being that's if they're basically just honey,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's having to come out, so we're really eating.
You're eating. So I'll put it to you this way. It's coming out from the mouth and not from the back. So if that makes you feel better.
Oh.
It's almost like if a mama bird is regurgitating food to feed its young. And then think of it this way as well. A bee only eats nectar and honey, so it's not going around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, you are eating something that has been inside of the bee because the nectar is being mixed up inside its abdomen. This whole chemical thing that's going on with the enzymes and minerals and stuff in its abdomen, and that's what creates the honey. But it's all good, and it's normal to see when you do an extraction when it's raw and unfiltered. It's normal to see some wax in there. You might see a bee leg. you might see a few things that look like trash, but it's like bee stuff. And quite frankly, it's okay to eat all of that. When it comes down to it, the wax that the bees create, it's actually really, really healthy for you. You can eat it. You can use it to make candles, soaps. You can use it on your skin. It's good for lowering cholesterol. Yes, you can use it on your floors. Yes, for your wood floors. Yes. You can use it as a sealant, as a water repellent, because it's water repellent. If you use it as a candle, it burns really, really bright, but it doesn't ash. And it also takes away impurities. So it's one of those things like in ancient Egypt, just from my own personal studies, in ancient Egypt, they used to burn like when Persia took over Egypt, Persians wanted Egyptian doctors because back in those times, they were considered the best doctors in the world. And a lot of the things that they used were derived from honey. So whenever honey heals wounds, beeswax, they use them for candles, and the candles will take away impurities. So it's just a multitude of things that we can get from bees that are good for us. As you know, honey is full of minerals, full of B vitamins. It's good for your heart. It's good for your skin. It's good for your hair. It heals wounds. It's good for lowering cholesterol. It's great for allergies. So when you guys go to the store and you see that it says local honey, read the back of the bottle because a lot of times it's just locally distributed. It's not local. So make sure you read where it actually came from. So if you're trying to, take honey for allergies, seasonal allergies, make sure it actually came from at least maybe 50 miles or less from where you live. Yes, ma'am.
I take honey every day for my allergy. I take a tablespoon of honey every day. When I don't take it, you can tell my eyes are running. You can tell.
Yeah, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
And so I learned that it's honey within your region.
Yep, that's it. So if you're getting honey that says it's local, but it says Wiley, Texas, but on the back it said it's made, it came from Kentucky, Arkansas. It's honey, it's fine, but it's not going to do anything for your allergies. So yeah, that is very important to make sure you read the bottle to know exactly it's coming from. I'm going to show you guys just a couple of my tools, and then we can move on and do this demonstration. These again are frames, and this is typically a hive will have 9 frames, pardon me. Some of them come with like 6 frames, depending on how big your box is. I didn't bring a hive box in here, but a hive box is about 22 inches by 16 inches, about 10 inches deep. And then these are stacked inside, just like this, right? And they have to be what's called bee width apart, because these will connect everything with their wax. So you want these to be at least bee width apart, which is about 1/8 of an inch apart. And the bees will build their wax here, their comb here, pardon me, which is wax. They'll build their comb there. That's where they'll raise their young. That's where they will store their pollen, store their honey. Everything is stored in those honeycombs. And then this is just like the top of a bee frame, which is here to help me. But I'm gonna show y'all. I'm a weirdo. I love science, and I like just experimenting with things. But this is comb from one of my hives. I will gladly pass it around. And then I have one that you can show there if you'd like. It lasts forever. It's very flexible, so if you bend it, break it, it's fine, but it lasts forever. My goal is to start collecting some of the wax, because once you extract the honey and that wax, a lot of people just throw it away. You can either put it back in the hive with the bees, because they're gonna reuse it, or you can take some and use it for yourself to make soap, lip balm, lotion, candles. Some people do, but when you get to these like big box people, they don't necessarily have that kind of mindset. So sometimes when it starts to get cooler out, I didn't talk much about the disease and things like that can happen with bees, but I'll touch on that very, very briefly. Colony collapse disorder is something that's been taking bees out more recently than in the past, and that basically is happening because of pesticides. They have trouble kind of filtering through that whole chemical thing that goes on with pesticides. So that has created a disease that is called colony collapse disease, and it's been taking out a whole lot of bees, which is why everybody's like, save the bees, save the bees. Like, okay, stop spraying the trees and stuff with all this crap.
Yeah, they even do a spray for mosquitoes.
Yeah, like all that stuff is detrimental to bees and how they function, because again, they are very sensitive, like scents and vibrations. They're very vibrational creatures. So those kind of things destroy their habitats and their livelihood as the creatures that they are. Hive beetles are also a no-no when it comes to bees and their colonies.
Is something else.
Yes. You have to be very careful about beetles, because it's easy for them to get into the hive because they're small. But for the most part, bees can kind of contain them and keep them away. But if one gets infected or affected by a hive beetle, then the whole hive is affected. And you're gonna either have to they're either gonna die on their own, or you just have to burn it all up because it's gonna affect, if you can't reuse the frames and everything, because basically it's a disease that will keep going. When it starts to get cooler, sometimes your bees may need to be fed. I try my best not to feed my bees, because basically what's happening is you're feeding them sugar water. And sugar water, they can turn it into, they use it like nectar and they'll turn it into honey, but it's not nectar, it's sugar water. So I try my best not to, but I had a colony which absconded, they left and over the winter. They were a weaker colony, so I kind of had to do a little bit more work with them. So I did feed them. The first feeder I got was this, and y'all excuse me, this is dirty. It's a farm. This is a feeder. You just put sugar water, you dilute one part water, 1 part sugar, right? And I just pour the water in here. This little top goes on like that. The bees come up through here, and there's a little opening here. They come up through here and they sip the water. The weak hive destroyed because they were weak. They weren't foraging very well. And then I was like, you know what? It's like 150 degrees, and this is plastic. I'm just thinking, okay, would I drink water out of a hot plastic cup? No. So I started using these mason jars, and I, just with a hammer and nail, just tap some holes in it, put it on top of the hive box, and let it drip in and drip slowly. But I try not to do that. I do it when I absolutely have to, but I try not to. My gloves are super dirty. This is a bee brush. I wish I had a video that I could show you of me beekeeping, but most of the videos of me, my butt is just sticking up in the air. So I was like, that's not appropriate.
I have
And
one.
you can't see. Okay. I'm like, you can't really see what I'm doing. You just see me in this big old white suit bending over. But this is a bee brush. Like when you're at the, oh, well, we took it off, but it's okay. Like when I open up a hive, and again, this is like the top of a hive, and a lot of times I have to use my tool, which is this thing here. You have to pry it open. This is sticky and dirty because the bees create something called propolis, like I said, which seals everything shut. When you open the hive, a lot of times there's bees on the underside of the top. There's bees on the top, and I'm just trying to find the queen. And so I just, lightly brush. This here is my smoker. This is a lifesaver, especially when I'm dealing with other people's bees. Because bees are like people. They all have their own temperaments. Like one colony is different from the next colony. They can be right next door to each other. Like the 2 colonies we had at Joppy, one was very aggressive, which is the one that survived through the winter, and the other was very docile. They didn't make it, but the aggressive hive I got used to, but dealing with other people's hives, especially, I use this. And this is used to cover up the pheromone. Like if you're approaching a hive and they're very, very, very busy, and you're unsure of, like for me, if I'm unsure of, okay, what kind of temperament do you guys have? I'm going to use the smoker, and they call it smoking them out. I try to use it sparingly, again, because I don't want to disturb nature. But it helps to be able to get the bees into a calm state because they don't smell that pheromone that they're producing based on somebody's in our house. Who is this and what are you doing here? So that helps to get rid of that pheromone. This is also a J hook tool for a hive tool, basically same thing, just pry open the boxes because they can get really hard to open. And basically what a beekeeper does, all in a nutshell, I talked about bees and all how wonderful bees are. And beekeeping is a way of life. Beekeeping to me is the most peaceful thing. I mean, besides going to sleep, beekeeping is super, super peaceful. It's calming, it's relaxing, it's super therapeutic for me. The only thing I do is just kind of help undo some of the stuff that we as humans have done. Bees can survive without us 100%. We're the problem. Basically, as a beekeeper, all I'm doing is going in and making sure the queen is okay. I go in and I search for her. That's my only job really right now. Eventually, I'll start extracting and, like I said, using for the medicinal purposes, the honey and the wax. But my main job is just to make sure that they got a stable house, make sure, the roof ain't gonna blow off, make sure that there are no beetles, hive beetles in there, make sure that there's no disease present, nothing that could destroy their colony. So the job for me is just making sure that the queen is okay. Not like they're not doing that, because that's exactly what they're doing. But my job is to go in there and find the queen. And sometimes it's tough. Those boxes are heavy because right now I had to have one of my mentors come out and help me lift the boxes a few weeks ago because they're heavy. They're full of honey. So yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have some honey. Yes, ma'am.
So in the event of bad weather, how do you make sure their colony is safe? Especially if we're in a thunderstorm where the wind is going to, spinning around in the rain, and you may end up having a tornado over there somewhere and you hear the sirens going on. How do you maintain the colony when
Well,
you have weather like that?
So to answer your question, this year taught me.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the hives, unfortunately, this poor little weak hive, it just started out all bad. So, but one of the hives, the weaker hive, the top flew off of its box, and that's when they left. They were like, "I'm out." Yes, yes. So when I say they can take care of themselves, they can take care of themselves. Like they didn't wait around for me. Oh, you're gonna come put the top on? No, they left. So basically, what you can do is, I've learned now that it's probably best to get a flat top. We have these pitched roof tops on a couple of them, and I mean, I like the way they look and they're wonderful. But just like you said, if there's a big storm, wind is blowing, it'll blow off easily. So the only really way to try and prevent that from happening is to weight it down with like bricks or something heavy to keep the tops on. But again, when I tell you that propolis that they put on the insides of the frames and pardon me, the boxes, it's really like Gorilla Glue. It's hard to get off. Like it's very, very difficult to pry it open.
They kind of protect themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, you're not concerned about the whole hive just being picked up and carried away.
It could happen, but I
But
can't do
they're
anything.
concerned about themselves since they're gonna still hide.
Yeah, yeah. Like if that were to happen, quite frankly, I'm sure the bees would find somewhere else to go. Like they just know. They're in, and it sounds silly to say this, but they're in tune enough to know we need to get out of here, find somewhere else to go, or they're just gonna stay there and weather the storm. And maybe they'll be there, when I get there, or maybe they won't. But they know what to do.
And then I think when she kind of being concerned talking about maybe somebody coming and pick up the hive.
Oh,
If I don't
someone,
want to do that.
yeah, I don't think too
I
many
know.
people. would do that. Yeah, you gotta be a brave son of a gun to come pick up a beehive and then run with it. So,
You gotta be a good
so
thing.
yeah. But okay, we're gonna get to making this
We only got a
smoothie.
few minutes, right? So.
Oh, we made it.
I got plenty of time.
You got a whole 35 minutes.
What?
We thought we ended at 12:30.
You do, but you got another 35 minutes.
Okay, so anything else I want to talk to Maleke before I come on real quickly about the bees? Anybody?
And y'all come on out to Joppy if you want to like just come check out the bees, check out what I do. I forgot to bring my bee suit. I left it. I wanted to show y'all that. But yeah, come out to the farm.
You got some markers there, put the address on.
And then when we read, I think I heard from my- Yeah. Okay. Does anybody on the Zoom have a question about bees before we start?
I was proud of you.
I got it.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a question.
Okay, hold on. Let me turn the volume up. Okay, you got a question on the chat.
Yes, I was wondering where could you purchase this beehive from to get started?
Oh, okay, cool. So you can totally purchase beehives from, there's a place called Texas Bee Supply, which is pretty popular here. But most bee farmers, most established bee farmers do sell what are called nukes. It's a nucleus package, which is a hive with a colony, with an already started colony of bees, few hundred bees, and a queen. And they run you between $150 and $300, depending on where you get them from, depending on what type of bee you choose to get. But here's the thing, it's kind of late in the season to do it. Most bees are sold, put on reserve and are sold by April. That's not to say that, you know, you couldn't get it now, but it's pretty slim pickings. But yeah, you can just, Texas Bee Supply is a really, really good resource. But just if you wanted to look up any other resources, just Google like bees for sale in North Texas. And a lot of established bee farmers will sell nucleus hives.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are y'all selling y'all's honey online? Do you have an online?
We're getting there. We're getting there. So this will be the first year to extract. My thing is year one, I'm not robbing the bees. Like, they need what they need to survive through the winter. I need to see, you know, like, how this was my first full year of beekeeping. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't disturb nature as much as possible. Even though this is like, you know, I'm in their business and I'm in their space, I still wanted to keep it as natural as possible. So we didn't rob the first year, but like I said, those hives are heavy right now. So I think they got enough to last, and they're out foraging again now. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I think maybe we'll start at maybe a farmer's market or something.
Yeah, it's probably squirrel clear. Oh, yeah. So, Maleke, you think you done?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
A little bit.
this was our third lunch and learn, and I hope they'll let us come back again for something else. We don't have, the first one was, what was it, Maleke?
Garden Made Simple.
Oh, yeah.
Garden Made Simple was the
Garden
first one.
Made Simple, yeah. was our
And
first
then
one.
you did one in the spring, your spring planting.
Preparedness for spring planting.
Yes.
So then this was a beekeeper. So next, if you have any suggestion, just email Van Holmes to say, I love the lunch and learn, so can we learn about this from the farm? So today, we're gonna make a smoothie with spinach and kale from Happy Mama's farm. So we have some dinosaur kale, it's a curly kale, and the spinach is ours harvested from Happy Mama's farm. So we're gonna make a smoothie, and we're gonna use, for sweetener, we're gonna use some honey, since we talked about bees today. So the ingredient is, Maleke, I need it right here. I don't want to touch my phone, sorry. So can you?
Yes.
Touch the phone? We're good, I'm just gonna give you the ingredients. Sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna give you the ingredients. The ingredients is 2 cups of fresh spinach, which we have spinach from the farm. We use 2 cups, and then is a cup of almond milk, and a leaf of kale, just one, but I'm gonna use 2 because we're gonna use 2 different types. We're gonna use the dinosaur and the curly. And a tablespoon of peanut butter, and a tablespoon of chick seeds. Everybody know these, right?
Chia
Okay.
seeds.
And it says one slice frozen banana, but our banana ain't frozen, so we're just gonna use a regular banana. It works the same. And our teaspoon of honey. We're gonna blend it all together, and then we're gonna have a kale and spinach smoothie from Happy Mama's farm. Okay. All right, let's do it. I need the stick. Take the top off. Oh, you're glove. I don't need to take this. Okay, this is okay. so we're gonna put our kale in. You're gonna put all your ingredients in all at once. You just blend it up. You have to use it. You don't, no, you have to use it now. It just give it a different flavor when you know.
Are you allergic? Oh, okay. You just don't.
Okay, I'm using curly kale. It says one stem, but it's kind of small. Okay, and then we're gonna use some dinosaur kale. All this came from Dr. Mama's farm, y'all. So. Okay, then 2 cups of spinach. I guess I should blend some of it. Put 1 cup in first. Okay, I'm gonna use my almond milk to break it up a little bit, and then I will add other. Y'all drink almond milk?
Mm-hmm. I do.
I think Eric will be waiting on us to cook.
Mhm. Yeah, I do. Y'all make such good stuff,
We try.
and it's fresh.
Okay, so we're gonna start blending. So do any of you guys juice first? Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, not juice, but I have my little NutriBullet in the break room.
So when y'all juice, guys that juice, do y'all put the whole stem in or do y'all kind of break it up? Do y'all just put it everything in? Use everything, okay, yeah. Okay. I'm getting there, y'all. Can you give me some peanut butter right here, Maleke? So, how much? Okay, it says a tablespoon. So what do y'all use for sweetener? Like an apple?
Agave.
Oh, you use agave? Okay.
I don't eat plain sugar. I use it.
So you don't eat bananas?
And that's okay. Yeah. I said, don't worry, I'll eat bananas.
So give me a sheet. All right. Okay, let's see. We're gonna get this blended up and then we're gonna get our. So I'm gonna roughly set a frozen banana. The reason why I use a frozen banana is to give it some, so it could be like a cold. So I'm gonna put ice in it instead of the banana being frozen. Okay, maybe. And then get my honey, then move on. Yeah. How much I need? Yeah. Okay. The last thing we'll put in is our honey. right, smells so good. Okay, then we're gonna put our ice in and make it. I like smoothies that taste kind of like shakes, you know, like some people just like smoothie. My dog, she'll blend up anything. I can't do that. I was like, you don't do that? Yes, it's a smoothie. Look. But she used apples for her sweetener. I told her she should start using honey, but she used apples to make her sweet. Use pineapple?
I use fruit.
Yeah, any fruit, yeah. Here you have a Stop Your Mama's Farm spinach and
Kale smoothie.
let's taste it.
I don't know if you made that.
I saw that face.
Don't lie to us.
Tastes good. Tastes really good.
It's good.
And this is honey from the farm?
Okay.
This is honey from the farm?
This is not honey from the farm.
Oh.
But it is local.
It's local.
It is real local.
So guys out there on
I was
Zoom,
excited. to
we
test.
look forward to our next lunch and learn with you guys. Thank you for coming.
So I got that honey from the farmer's market, and it's a family run bee farm. I'll get you the name of it, but there's a few of them out there that are really